and start recording. And let's see if they've moved the share the screen again. Oh my goodness, there it is. And welcome. We'll let some more people come in, but happy April. We are almost there. Things hopefully will start to slow down, especially for our teachers, and we will be set. Today, I wanted to see, just because I'm really talking podcasting, that was my desire. I would love to have you introduce yourself in the chat and share your favorite, either personal, professional, both podcast. My husband likes to listen to books on tape, and I'm kind of like the squirrel ADD person that I can't focus. But I found that when I run, I'm really listening to podcasts because that does seem to make the time go better. And, you know, they're in those short clumps that I can focus for 15, 20, 30 minutes. And, you know, some of the ones I've been listening to are, oh my goodness. I try not to do anything professional when I'm running, just because I really want to have a chance. My newest one is called Even the Rich. And let's see, I've learned about the Kardashians, and I've learned about Harry and Meghan. But I also really, really like one called Lit Reading. And Lit Reading is a man who does, he just reads short stories. So like O. Henry or Mark Twain or some of those that just, I may not have had a chance to listen to the story or read it when I was growing up in my own way. But this has been kind of nice to just kind of listen to different types of stories. And let's see, Denise has shared A Way with Words. Okay, I'm going to take these out of the chat and I will put them into the presentation at the end and share it with you. You're going to notice up in the top right-hand corner, I have a bit.ly. That bit.ly will be on the screen on every slide because I have found it's kind of frustrating that you're halfway through a presentation and someone joins and they're like, can you share the slide deck? So one of my new tips is I've just been adding the link in the corner each time. So if you have just joined us, and I know we have a couple people that just did, if you would introduce yourself and either share a favorite personal or professional podcast. I have listened to the Google Teacher Tribe, and that is a wonderful professional podcast. I really enjoy it. I think that they probably changed their name just to be more politically correct. I can't remember the new one, but I do love to listen to all of the updates and everything through Google. Jennifer Allwood, okay. I'm gonna, like I said, I'll write all these down and put these within this actual slide. And, you know, just some of the, of course, now my dog is going to decide to bark. My favorite murder and some of those crime junkies are kind of good too. And earlier I guess it was this fall, my husband and I rented a motorhome and we drove to Colorado and New Mexico. And that's really what we did is we just sat there and listened and listened to podcasts. And I thought that they were kind of fun. So even if you have not shared one yet, and some of you might be taking notes and saying, I'm really not familiar with podcasts, and I'm going to get to that and kind of catch you up if not. I do have some things. Today we're going to talk about some of the successes and lessons that we've learned so far this school year. We're going to discuss some of the advantages of podcasting, if that's something that you would like. And then I have a open question and answer time. But most excitedly, I would like to share this opportunity and see if some of you are willing to share this with other computer science people you know. Starting this year, our textbook adoption process will be a little different. In the past, there's been one state textbook committee, and they would go and they would review all of the different textbooks as they went through the cycle. So maybe somebody might be on the committee for 2 or 3 years, and whatever, if it's science, if it's math, the same group of people would go through and approve different textbooks. And it kind of didn't make as much sense because those aren't maybe content experts. So starting this year, we will be having a state textbook review committee for multiple different content areas. The ones for this year are pre-K through 2 elementary English language arts, 3 through 5 English language arts, pre-K through 12 computer science, and pre-K through 12 technology education. So when textbook companies want to submit their curriculum for state approval, people in these committees will actually be going through and looking at everything that's submitted. And we will have an instructional material rubric that is created for each content area. So I spent many months working on the rubrics for computer science and technology education. And hopefully that will guide those textbook committees through the selection process. So we are now accepting applications to serve on those committees. We will be accepting applications through April 13th, and I believe it said it is May 14th that people would find out if they're accepted to serve on that committee. And then we have a list of the expectations. I would meet with both the technology education and computer science committees and walk them through the rubrics so they understand what was being thought when it was created, and if they've got any questions. And then, like I said, the remainder of expectations are right there. So if you know anyone who is interested in becoming part of the content review team, for computer science, we're asking that they have a minimum of 3 years of computer science teaching experience, but they do not necessarily have to have an active computer science teaching certificate right now. And then if somebody is interested in reviewing the technology education curriculum, again, we would ask that they have a minimum of 3 years of technology education teaching experience, but they don't have to be certified specifically in educational technology. So if you will notice back here in the slide deck, I've got some of the important dates, and anyone that is interested, there is actually an application link on our website, and it is a Google form. It takes, I believe, somebody said 15 to 20 minutes to go through and submit. Just kind of asking some of their background information, where they taught, what are their interests, what certifications do they hold. So I am hoping that maybe some of you might be interested in serving on one of those committees. I would love to work with more of you. And for those of you that just joined us, we do have a link to the slide deck here at the top corner, and that will help you join along. And if you have any questions or are interested in serving in the textbook content committee, you can reach out to me and I can provide you with more information. Another thing that I've been doing is, and I was speaking with Kristen Tanner before, I think many times our high school teachers are pretty good at connecting. And I've reached out to all of the pre-K-8 computer science teachers that I was able to, and I would like to move forward and meet with them and kind of help them build a cohort, maybe even within their region or within their age group. So if you have some K-8 or pre-K-8 computer science teachers that are looking for community and professional learning, if you can send them my way, I would be glad to kind of fill them in on that. Oh, okay. So we are a month and a half away from the end of this school year. Completely different from last year. I'm not sure if that's completely different in a good way or completely different in a bad way, but I would love to hear what are some successes so far And I would love to just have you unmute and share. And I'm going to say one success I've heard as a true ed tech person. It has always been a passion of mine to get teachers interested in using technology. And well, they've had their opportunity. Hopefully they've had a positive experience and would like to continue on. But face-to-face teaching is always the best. Cultivating those one-on-one relationships with students is something that cannot be accomplished as well through technology. But technology does offer us some amazing options or opportunities. So any other successes that you've heard, either that you've experienced or that you've heard from one of your schools? There has to be something positive.
Okay.
Okay, Davina.
I'll go first. Yes. Hi. Actually, in Arizona, I'm actually moving to the state of Oklahoma, and I'm a computer science teacher in Arizona, and looking for, my community in the state of Oklahoma. And right now I'm looking at Piedmont High School. And this year, being in the classroom with my students, we did a lot of cultural outreach, Native American cultural outreach. So we did a lot of Arduino, we did a lot of hands-on robotics. Of course, we sent the robotics home and teaching and having them, connecting through online and having them do a lot of things like collecting plants, collecting herbs, but having them still make that connection through computer science. It's been, this is the first time that I've completed that curriculum with my students, but just to have that cultural connection, I think really embrace the technology part, and to combine both of them, I think it was really had a meaning for my students. So I think that was really a success for us. And then another thing was, like, we had two of my students who actually were picked up by Intel last year, and now Intel were asking Native Americans to apply for the Native American scholarship through Intel and Amazon. So I'm really excited for that one as well.
That's really awesome. I saw a couple other people's eyes were like, wow. Well, first of all, thank you for coming. Second of all, welcome to Oklahoma when you do make it here. And
yeah, so I like to be part of the team. I think any type of learning would be really, cool. We did a lot of curriculum crosswalk with Arizona, because Arizona standards they developed like 3 years ago, but they didn't push for any Native American standards. So I was part of that crosswalk for Native American computer science standards on the Navajo reservation. So it was pretty nice. So now it's combining all of them together.
That is pretty cool. Well, Delvita, make sure within the slide deck is my email address, and I will share with you some wonderful connections for computer science for you when you come here, like our Computer Science Teachers Association of Oklahoma.
Yeah, so, and I'll be presenting over there as well.
Fabulous. Good. Any other positives that people would like to share? What has been a success for you this school year?
Well, I would like to say that my teachers, I think, have benefited from having to work in Google Classroom all the time. it's taught them a lot of different things. And even though it was really difficult for some teachers, they really got on board and have done a great job. And I think they all realize that probably technology is not going out of their classroom, and that they will continue to use some of the resources that we made available for them. And it won't just be kind of a paper thing anymore. It'll be a lot of, we've got these resources, let's get online and look at it, because we were fortunate that we went one-to-one this year in our school. So that was, that helped facilitate that as well.
That is fabulous. Any other successes? The wait time is really intense when you are on the waiting side. Well, if you have some other successes, and sometimes you're like, I really don't want to unmute and share, you are welcome to share things in the chat box. And of course, we have to make sure we learn not only from successes, but we do have to examine things that may not have always gone well. And if you notice, I didn't use the word failure. What are some of the opportunities to learn for the future that you may have experienced this school year?
Do you mean, Karen, like learning up, like workshops that are coming up or that sort of thing?
Like, what is something that might not have gone the way you wanted it when presenting a training or when presenting a lesson? I think one of my lessons that I have learned is when I was living in Georgia, I did a lot of training on learning management systems and making sure that that was easy for people to see, both as a user, a teacher, and as a user, a learner. And now I'm working on taking classes through Oklahoma State, and I'm using Canvas. But I also have been logging in as my youngest daughter on Canvas at Oklahoma State, just to see the variation and how teachers are presenting information. And I think that that is something moving forward. Some people, it's really difficult on the user end to know where to find things. If you've got all these tabs that says assignments, but you have an assignment title there, but there's no description, or you have to scroll through different modules, or their formatting issues, I think, are something that moving forward, I would probably share more with teachers and making sure that teachers are looking at it from both sides. I know when we used the learning management system, we created fake students because we could. And so sometimes it was a husband or a child, and the teachers would log in as a fake student and look at it from the student view to see if it was as easy to navigate as they thought it was. So that would have been a lesson that I've learned in just consistency and helping teachers.
I agree with the streamlining. We use the same Google Classroom format, but the material that's being presented is not always in a uniform manner. So it's very confusing to parents, especially if they have kids in multiple classrooms. So I've had a little bit of trouble with when we have been in session, but as classes went on quarantine, we may have a distance learning class and then our normal face-to-face classes. And when they were on distance learning, they just kind of like forgot about that they had to go to Google Classroom and do my assignment. So it was very frustrating because when they would come back after their 14-day, they were very behind. They didn't do any of the assignments completed that the rest of us got done while we were in face-to-face.
Yeah, and kind of like teaching students time management and project management. Some of those skills are those that they will need beyond the classroom, and it is very easy. Although I think for teachers, we're like, how in the world could you just forget to look? But those executive skills that they haven't developed yet, this is a good opportunity to help them develop that, especially now while they're still in that maybe sheltered, supervised fashion before they go off to college and they're trying to function alone. Thanks for sharing, Angela. Any other lessons that we've learned?
I think I've learned like trying to provide things in more bite-sized portions. Like when we're coordinating workshops and things, some people are still wanting to do like 4 hours at a time. And I'm like, no, nobody wants to sit there that long on Zoom. So we need to give like more concise information in a shorter amount of time.
Well, moving forward, another thing that we've learned is it has been difficult for schools and teachers to make that jump from face-to-face to the virtual world. And just so you know, we have something that is actually working on going through the final processes. We're calling it a blueprint for virtual and blended learning. And we will have a facet of the SDE website that what it will be is we've created a rubric that will allow schools to go through and self-assess where they are in terms of being prepared for distance and blended learning, virtual and blended learning. We've got to get those words right. And then throughout the next school year, we'll be able to provide them guidance. So there's 7 facets or areas of focus that through all kinds of research and lots of research that we've done with not only within our agency, but outside. And so we're looking at like equity, professional learning for teachers, instruction, instructional materials, leadership, and there's of course 2 more that I can't think of off the top of my head, but just to really guide schools. So be looking for information on that. And sometimes it's our computer science and technology based people that are the people that hear that first and can maybe take it back and share it with some administration. So. Oh, and there we go. Standards of practice, a blueprint for successful and virtual. And so let's see, it was fostering positive relationships and culture and climate that I had forgotten. But we decided that those were very strong facets. And in fact, we are pretty excited to share that a national organization related to the Department of Education has taken this blueprint and made some modifications, but it will be published, I believe, next week. And it will be based upon Oklahoma's work. So I think that that's pretty amazing. So. Okay, so moving forward, I'm just going to share, I'm going to blow through this because sometimes you're looking at the end of the year, what in the world can I do with my students? I know sometimes you're focused on the AP test, but sometimes I think some of the extra things might help your students prepare to go through some of the AP testing. So I wanted to share a little bit about podcasting. And although I'm probably sure you know, but I will give you a definition of podcasting from Merriam-Webster, one of our notable dictionaries. It's a program like music or talk made available in a digital format for automatic download over the internet. And the great thing is these can be taken just about anywhere. So students as consumers of podcasts, well, much of the research shows that it increases student engagement because you're thinking so many times, who do they listen to sharing all of the information? The teacher. And I think so many times the teacher can be like that parent. I know my own children tune me out because they hear me telling them stuff all the time, but my next door neighbor could tell them the exact same thing and they'd be like, oh, that's a great idea. So it's increasing student engagement. Strengthen listening skills. Like I said, I am really not an auditory learner, but I'm building that, and I find that that's really a necessary skill just for life. You can incorporate reflective thinking skills and or writing skills, having students summarize or compare and contrast what they've listened to. Can build student independence, sometimes student choice. Of course, with anything, if you're going to give students choice in listening, you would need to make sure that you previewed everything to make sure everything is appropriate. There we go. Always be sure to listen to every single podcast before you share it. Now, there are some wonderful podcasts out there that you may find useful to share with students. Each of these have active links. Again, I can't guarantee that every podcast is appropriate for your age students. Some of them may be designed even more toward teachers. I like the podcasts that start off with disclaimers such as, during this episode, you may hear, and you're like, that is not one that I want to share with my students. But the last link is just a full list of other computer science podcasts. Then there's also podcasts, general podcasts for educators. I like the classroom commute. Unfortunately, I am not commuting, so that one is not quite as handy. You know, a normal commute might be 20 to 25 minutes. Me walking upstairs only takes a minute or two, so you know, I'm not being able to listen to that full one. Shake Up Learning has some great information on just some general, mostly Google tools, but those are ones you may want to check out. Now, here's where I think I get the most excited, is using students as producers of podcasts. And I'm just going to allow you to flip through, in addition to our computer science standards for Oklahoma, Oklahoma also recognizes and endorses the ISTE standards for students. And I think that these were the 2016 standards. And some of them, by using students as producers of podcasts, you're able to hit several of these: empowered learners, digital citizens, knowledge constructors, creative communicator, and global collaborator. And I mean, sometimes, you know, you're like, how in the world am I going to hit all these standards in a classroom? Well, look at how many you can hit by just having students create a podcast. Now, some of you might say, I don't even know where to begin. What do I need if I want to create a podcast? You know, it is super easy. Just take a phone or an iPad. That's the easiest thing. And the great thing is there's, you know, maybe no need to purchase anything. You already have the materials there. But if you're a person that finds a grant for your school or for your classroom, this could be a great way, because it's showing student innovation, student active learning, students as producers and creators. And you can use a classroom computer that you already have, and either the built-in microphone on your computer, or I'm trying to think, I think I saw some actual like plug-in microphones that can be like maybe $50, $60. If you even want to go beyond, there are some of the wonderful round microphones that will allow the entire class or everything within one room to be picked up. Again, I would recommend a grant if you wanted to fund that. Some easy recording and editing tools for podcasts. If you have an iPad or an Apple product, GarageBand is right on there. The great thing about GarageBand is not only can you use it to record a podcast, but students could create their own intro and exit music. So you're hitting lots of different things. On each of these slides, you will see links, and those links will actually take you to websites that can give you ideas on how to use the tool. And Kristen, I figured she was going to pipe up if I said the word grant. She said you can apply for supplies through the TRSA Classroom Grant, and she has given you that link. Don't you love multiple organization collaboration? Another tool that you might want to use is Audacity. This one is a web-based tool, although you could download it onto a device if you have the ability to do that. I would think like GarageBand is here, Audacity is here, and levels of usage. But then you're also able to see the different sound waves. So you've got some science tied in there, and students can go in and I think the great thing about recording anything like this, I know I say a lot, and I can magically make that go away through editing. It's pretty awesome. Another one is WeVideo. This is better for younger users. I do believe that there's, right now, everything I'm sharing is free because I believe in free. I do believe WeVideo has a paid version, but for a 5-minute recording or under, I believe that WeVideo is free. Another new one I have not played with is called Twisted Wave. Again, each of those links will take you right to some instructions on how to use the site or tool. And Vocaroo, I have used Vocaroo a ton with especially the little ones, kindergarten, first grade. It is so easy to record using Vocaroo, and then you can just share it through even a link that they create. Once you've got your podcast created, what in the world do you do with it? Well, one site is to post it on Anchor, and Anchor is, oh gosh, I've just lost it. Spotify. I believe Anchor is part of Spotify, or I can't remember. It's another website that you'd know, but this is free. And here are also instructions on how to post a podcast onto Apple Podcasts. So hopefully step-by-step instructions are helpful to you as well. Again, trying to be cognizant of time. I'm trying to speed through, but if you've got questions, please stop me. I think one of the best things about having students create something like this is the planning process and the iterative process that you have to go to create it. Because they might want to just sit down and say, I'm just going to create a podcast. Well, there are wonderful guides. And if you click on this image, it will take you directly to a Google Doc that you're able to make a copy of, and then you can share that with students. But this will talk you through what is the focus, what information, what is the title if they're going to do a series of podcasts, who's going to host it or co-host it, are there going to be guest appearances? And from what I'm reading, it is recommended that a podcast have at least 2 hosts so that they're having the ability to have dialogue back and forth. It's a little bit more entertaining. And this student podcast planning guide will just walk students through and have them answer many questions during the planning process. And then they're like, okay, I'm ready to go. And you're like, almost. There's one more step. And this is actually an outline for the whole series. Is there going to be an intro of music? The great thing is they could create that one loop of music and use it over and over each time, so that it's not that, they save it and, how you just get started 30 seconds into something, you're like, oh, I got to start all over again. Well, if they already have their intro and their closing recorded, they can push that in together. And it's, thinking about introducing, where are you? Who are you? What is your purpose? What is your topic of discussion? And it just walks students through the entire planning process. So what in the world, how does this tie in with computer science? I don't have time to do anything else in a computer science classroom because, if I'm high school, I've got AP exams. Well, think. Your students, especially, maybe they're going back and forth, distance learning, face-to-face learning, they could create a weekly classroom podcast. Maybe this is something that you would archive and use with future students. Here's what these students had as a takeaway from this unit and lesson, or share it with students in another AP or computer science classroom. They could document a field trip. If you're going to go to, my dream is to go to the the Houston NASA facility and tour that. And think you could have students talk through some of the things and just record it, write it down, and record it later. Record a classroom discussion, especially with students being in and out of the classroom. This is where one of those round microphones might be really good. And students that aren't able to be there and maybe can't log into class on time might even be able to listen. because students can read information, but you just can't replicate that hands-on or that point in time when you're hearing the conversations. Share career possibilities. I think people are really good about understanding the need for computer science, but I think that sometimes we don't often share all of the different possibilities related to computer science. And some of those possibilities, aren't even created or are just created now. And just to let students know what's out there and available for them. Have them conduct interviews, have them speak with other computer science experts. That could be face-to-face, that could be through a Zoom call. Obviously, if you're recording, you would need to ask permission to record and use that later, but what a great opportunity for them to share knowledge. And also, maybe preparing for some of these finals at the end of the year or exams, have them review curricular content. Now, either that could be the students sharing what they've learned, or you as a teacher creating some things that, here are some last minute things, just to make sure that you really know. Again, you could type that in an email and send it to students, but we also know students are maybe not the best at reading emails or skipping over, but if they hear your voice talking through things, it doesn't seem quite as difficult. And Kristen is saying it would be really cool to go to the zoo or a point of interest and create their own virtual field trip. I love that. And think of the things that you could do with like Google Earth or Google My Maps and tying all that together and having, oh my goodness, I can't even go there. I can get so excited. And other ideas. So Kristen has already jumped in and shared. Is there anyone that has either used podcasts with students or is thinking, this would really work with me and my students in the future?
I haven't done it with students, but I had to do it for a graduate class, and I was like really impressed about the amount of like English and editing and writing that had to be done. So if you're looking for those cross-curricular connections, I think a podcast is a great way to add those in.
And the design thinking process even. So there you go. And the great thing is, like you just said, you're able to go back in and fix those errors so they can polish it. And, some of our students that might not be, or that might be more reticent sharing anything have the ability to make themselves sound clear and well-spoken and maybe have more pride in that. Well, some resources, because, I know you have tons of time and have absolutely nothing else to do. Maybe this could be tucked away as a good summer reading activity. But I tried to find, there is one whole Facebook group dedicated to educational podcasting. And I thought that was pretty cool because, Facebook is one of those, when you're in one of those groups, it's really easy for you to just get little tidbits or nibbles at a time. Some of these are, I think one of these podcasting for beginners is for like beginning teacher podcasting, but some of these, I think creating podcasts with students is for those that are like pre-K 2 or 3. So I tried to make sure that there was a range of guides. If you find anything that you think might be useful, I would love to have you share. And the other thing that I think probably might draw students in, again, even if their podcast is telling a story, let's say that it's not even computer science related, or maybe they're using computer science as a concept of something. These are wonderful sound effects and music options that are all free. I loved the Zap Splat. I myself could sit there and play with them because it is always kind of fun to listen to some of the different sounds. And they could say, and then we pushed run on the computer, and then it makes that noise and just again makes it a little entertaining. But I thought some of those were wonderful for you to use. So now I've talked. Any suggestions, ideas, anything even non-podcast related that you have questions, concerns. Again, I am looking for people that would love to review curriculum and textbooks. So that might be something, or anyone that is maybe changing grade levels for next year, or has not taught computer science that needs connections. You know, you can always have them email me, or you could email me and make that connection, or just let me know and I'll reach out to them. Well, based upon that, you're a very chatty. I know you're like, I've worked all day and it's a Monday, and it has been a Monday of Mondays today, I think. We will have one last monthly meeting. I will do something throughout the summer. I'm not sure what is the best for computer science. I'm looking for ideas and input. If you have ideas of, hey, I would love to be trained on something, or I would love resources, or have you ever, please email me. And I love to just dig and find things, and I will share and set up summer meetings based upon your input. But our May meeting will be the last official one of the school year. And if you are a Google user at all, Google has made some big changes within their educational platform over the past, well, starting about a month ago and moving on. They're rolling some of these changes out monthly, weekly. And I think it would be good to make sure that you have some of this in the back of your head, even if you are not the lead Google person or admin at your school. You might have some unexpected things when you return if you haven't alerted some of your IT people or learned about this. So you definitely want to hear that. And like I said, there is the link to the slide deck. And as soon as we finish here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and backfill those podcasts that you suggested at the beginning of the chat. You're still welcome to share some of those in. You are always welcome to share this with anyone. If you do need the link to the Bitleys are always case sensitive. Yeah, I wish it was a Bentley. Yeah, Christy's laughing. But they're case sensitive, so you need to make sure that the C and the S is capitalized. This has been recorded, and this will be shared on the SDE Computer Science website. And as always, there's the link for our last official meeting. And I have recordings from my last summer's Tech Tool Tuesdays linked in here. We have a tutorial database. Well, actually there's two, and you can go through and filter these out by content area and or skill or user level. And last but not least, if you are not a member of the Computer Science Teachers Association of Oklahoma, you can join us for our bias busting workshop next week. Kristen has put that in the chat, and I believe that our next meeting is April 21st. Kristen?
Yes, Tuesday,
Okay.
4:30, and then the bias busting workshop is Wednesday at 6.
Okay, so if you need any additional information on that, I would love to connect you. And also, especially so like Della Vita, if you have not subscribed to the monthly computer science newsletter, I send one out monthly. The one for April has not yet gone out. It should be going out later this week, and you can subscribe there, and it will have all kinds of different links and activities and things going on here in the state. So thank you so much for coming. I appreciate each of you for taking the time out of your day. And I'm just going to kind of hang out here